Erin, how are you going?
I'm very well, Dyl. How are you?
Honour, pleasure, privilege to have you on the show. And genuinely excited today. We're going to have some fun.
We are.
Yeah.
It's my privilege.
No,
excited
not
to
at
be
all.
here.
It's, I'm pumped to get you into Melbourne and down from the Rad. And we obviously played together in the Pro-Am recently up at Liv. I've actually had a ban on talking about Liv.
Why?
Because I've just been talking about it too much.
The people that put a ban on you, the ones that didn't get to go,
They're not happy. How did you go in the... Who'd you play with in the Pro-Am?
So we played with Danny Lee in the last 9, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but I think it's Puig is his last name.
Yeah, it's hard.
Puig. He's a Spanish guy.
How cool is the teams? How there's like the different teams. There's like the South American team, the American team, the older American team, the Australian. Like it's really cool
awesome.
how they've set it up.
It was awesome, and I reckon next year people you could still get tickets maybe a few days before Live Golf. I reckon now it's going to be sold out. So if you're ever thinking about going, get your tickets soon.
It was so cool, like the whole event. I could genuinely talk about this for hours, but like Malinauskas, I'm a massive fanboy of him and seeing him speak there and stuff. I've actually a couple of inroads might be coming over Adelaide soon to have a bit of time with the big fella.
How good. He'd love you.
Yeah, but from what he's been able to do in terms of Adelaide, of like gather around, bring Live, when from all reports over there, they said it really well. Like they didn't even no one else wanted it. And he was the only one who was like, we need it here.
Yep. He's seen not just what the events are, what Gather Round is and the spectacle of it, but the economic value that it has brought into South Australia, and then the effect outside of just the city, you know, going into McLaren Vale and the Barossa down to the Eyre Peninsula. It's had a flow effect, so it's been brilliant. And I'm sure with his attitude, and I know how competitive he is, he'll want it bigger and better every year so that it can never be stolen.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Well, from all reports, apparently there's going to be one in Gold Coast now as well.
Yep.
So it won't be able to compete with the Adelaide one, which was just incredible, but it's there. Hey, as long as you, as well as your incredible story, which I'd love to touch on today, so many other things I want to talk to you about, because I know you're doing some work with the AFL now. I know you're doing, you've got a real interest in the growth of the game and just the business of sort of sport, and just even on that topic of Live and then playing in the WNBA, like how different and AFLW, how different those sort of three things are, and where you think things can get better, where you think things are heading, and what your favourite sort of mix of those professional sports are. I'm really intrigued in.
Okay.
Actually, let's go to that now.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's do it.
So this is what happens, right? We have a run sheet.
Yep. And
my screen goes off and it's black. And now I'm like, I just want to talk.
Oh, let's talk.
Let's go.
Shut your computer.
Yeah, the computer's gone.
Yeah.
Obviously your story, maybe to set some more context, if someone out there isn't familiar, they've been living under a rock for the last few years. Playing footy growing up in Adelaide, famous father from Port Adelaide, incredibly great footballer. Take us to that part of your life where you're playing football.
Yep.
You get to 13 years of age and you're told you're not allowed to play anymore.
Yeah, so I was a big tomboy growing up, had the short haircut. You actually could mistakenly take me for a boy because I looked genuinely like that, because I love footy, loved watching my dad play. I was born actually here in Melbourne while Dad was playing for Collingwood, moved back to Adelaide when I was just about 2, where he went back to the Sandful and finished his career with the Port Adelaide Magpies, and grew up in a footy club that was just so family orientated. And for me and my 2 older sisters, we loved being a part of a club. My mum, we'd go to football games and sit in sleeping bags, watch Dad in the winter. It was just like, it was heaven for me, and all I wanted to be was a footballer. Now, there were no female pathways beyond the age of 13, and I played right up until the age of 13 at Smosh West Lakes, and was at that point, I knew that was the end of my football dream, because that was it. There was nothing else beyond that. So I had dabbled in a bit of basketball leading into that, but football was still my priority right to the very, very end. And so then I had to decide what else was going to be next, and so I went down the basketball route, and luckily I did. I loved basketball. It wasn't my passion what football was, and I was a horrible basketballer when I started, because I was getting fouled out in the first 5 minutes because I was just fouling everybody. This raw athlete who went from football to basketball, and had just so many people willing to help me get to a level to be able to play. And then I slowly made it a state side. Then I made an All-Australian junior side, and I kind of just kept climbing the ranks and just enjoying playing basketball. But I suppose in the deep down, football was always that burning passion of mine. And even though basketball became my focus and I was putting everything into that, there was always that kind of something a little bit missing. And then, fast forward 17 years later, and I had a career that consisted of getting drafted to the WNBA at the age of 20, went over to Connecticut, played in 5 teams, won 2 WNBA titles, 2 Olympics, World Championship gold medalist. Like, it was just unbelievable. I had such an incredible career, and I was so grateful to be able to play in the teams that I did. And even over in Europe, playing in Poland and Slovakia. And then, like I said, 18, 17 years later, AFLW starts. And never in those years did I ever think that I would ever get an opportunity to play football.
It's unbelievable. Like, I can imagine a little bit of a conundrum when you reflect on it too, because obviously there's such heartbreak of it not working at that age. But then, just, as you've said, be able to do all the tick off these incredible things that even if football was, you wouldn't be able to do that sort of stuff in an Australian game that not many other athletes in our country get to do.
Yeah. You know what the heartbreak was? It was, thinking about it now, the heartbreak was actually for my parents telling me.
I can't imagine. Do you remember that conversation?
I feel like I was not drip fed, but I feel like I knew it was coming because so many people around me were talking about, oh, you won't be able to play, come when you're 13 because there's no, girls can't play with boys anymore. So I felt like I knew the moment was coming, and I'm definitely sure my parents sat me down and said, look, what else do you want to do besides football, because we're at the end. But we're parents. Can you imagine talking to your kids and just going, sorry, you can't play that, even though that's the only thing that you want to do in life. The only thing that you get up in every morning and grab a football, go outside in the rain, or blow up a balloon and pretend that the back of the couch is a specky bag, you can't do that anymore. So I feel like, to me, that's the heartbreak. And I'm just so glad now I don't ever have to have that conversation with my kids. Yeah.
I just get goosebumps thinking about it now, because when you become a parent, as you mentioned, we both are, and I'm still in that phase now. You literally will do anything to just make them smile, make them happy, and I can't imagine. And I'm really sorry for what not just yourself, but a lot of other female athletes had to go through. I can remember playing with girls at that junior age, and look, you can't blame one person for anything. It's just the way things were, unfortunately, at that time. But not 1 minute did I even think about that. I was just like, oh, okay, they're not playing anymore. Like, it wasn't. Didn't ever think about how heartbreaking that would actually be for the people that were there, and
we accepted it.
We said, you just do it.
Yeah, even the girls, and part of it, we were just like, yep. Well, that's we were heartbroken, but that's just what the world was. There was just no football for us.
Who do you think? And I'm sure, as we said, there's not one person that helps make these things happen, but who do you think was a real pioneer? Is probably not the word I'm looking for, but another word similar to that, of going, you know what, no, fuck this, we need to have our own comp. Or like, how did that happen? Like, how do you think there was millions of people I know to get that to that stage, but was there someone that stands out to you now that you think, geez, without this person it might not have happened?
God, I think there was a huge task force behind this. And I think that picking one or talking about one would be
it's hard.
It would be really hard.
Down.
But I would have to say, that the women that were doing all the hard yards in the background, they were always at community clubs before AFLW come around. You talk about Debbie Lee, one that comes up in conversation a lot. The amount of work, pushing, pioneering, making sure that women had a voice in football clubs, in teams, in bigger roles. People like her, no doubt there'd be no AFLW without people like her. And like I said, there are so many great pioneers in this industry, and they continue to be.
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy. For me as well, even growing up as a young kid, I lived in sort of the northern suburbs and would often go down to like Darabin Falcons.
Yep.
That my mate would live right near there, so we'd be kicking the ball, and that was my sort of first memories of females like AFLW.
Yep.
And it's pretty crazy to see now when you look back, because I know you were in the first season of AFLW, but you weren't in the games, the Western Bulldogs Melbourne games, where you didn't play in those games.
So funny, I was in the United States at the time, and I had a WNBA contract, and I saw there was a competition or a game, Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs, and there was a draft, and I did enter the draft, but
From the States,
but I never got drafted. I did get a thank you for nominating for the draft letter.
So you're always thinking that maybe you're over there doing your thing and you're like, let me know when there's an actual comp, I'll come over there and dominate. But
I tried.
You tried?
I tried.
And you didn't get drafted.
In fairness, though, they were like, who is this person? She's just overseas playing basketball.
I thought you were like a Mason Cox type, just sort of coming across and trying to be a real... Yeah.
And I didn't tell anybody I was nominating, first of all, for the draft. I didn't tell my wife. I didn't tell parents, nobody. I was like, I'm just going to see what happens. So I got online and entered and nothing.
That is, we're not here to break news.
This is an exclusive
but that is
for you.
Unbelievable. Okay. There's going to be some people out there very embarrassed, I think, now.
But, even if I was drafted, I would have had to have then gone, okay, this is one game and I've got a WNBA contract. Actually,
you were willing.
I probably still would have played.
That's
knowing
crazy.
me. I was like, cool. Stuff it, I'm playing.
Before we get into the footy stuff, that's very cool, Darcy. I like when we get news. The difference of sport, and we've spoken about how crazy the growth of AFLW's been now with, teams and licenses and all these bits and pieces throughout that's taken there. It feels like it's been here for a long time now. But obviously still a long way to go with everything that's happening of scheduling and bits and pieces like that. The business of the WNBA, what was that like at that time? How was the competition, not just to talk about like remuneration, but like just the professionalism of the WNBA? Was it something that you were really happy to be a part of?
Oh, yeah. As soon as I was drafted, and then the year that I flew over there, I got picked up in a huge Hummer, right? That's really cool.
What colour?
Black. Black Hummer with all the Connecticut Sun logos all over it. So it stuck out like anything.
So just trying to blend in.
Just went under the radar.
Yeah.
And then I remember my first training camp, day one, and you've got the best players in the world playing this competition, and you're fighting for a spot to stay on the roster. And I remember one of my teammates, she was 7'2", and I remember looking around going, like, this is the big league. I've got to really fight. You've as tough as you've ever been, like, you've got to fight as hard as you can for this opportunity. And it's your full-time job, so you're there and pretty much like an AFL athlete, really. You're there from 7-8 o'clock in the morning. You don't get home till after lunch. You train, you do weights, physio, recovery, all those things. And I was doing that at the age of 20, and I had a career doing that for the next 10 years. So, and then the difference with basketball compared to AFL here is that it's a 12-month circuit. So you'd play in the WNBA from May through till, let's say, end of September, October, and then from October right through till May again, you're playing overseas in Europe, trying to get a good contract there. And both those contracts, so you want to have a good WNBA season to get a good European deal. So you couldn't really take time off. So you're just continually in this grind of playing year round and maybe getting 10 days over Christmas, maybe 5 days between seasons, but staying in the circuit, staying in shape. WNBA, our preseason was 3 weeks because that's all the time that we had because girls were overseas and they'd be coming back in. And so you just have to learn on the fly really quickly and survive and make sure that you maintained your spot. So I loved it. You do develop thick skin. You've got to make sure that you front up, do your job, do it well every single day because they have trades, mid-season trades. They can delist you right up until August. So it was always being on your toes, always making sure that you showed up every day as a professional.
Such a great point. Do you think that, and I sort of feel like this too sometimes, do you think that in Australia we romanticize like a big pre-season and bonding with a team over a long period of time? It's like a lot of sports don't have that. Like you just mentioned there, like you got 3-week pre-seasons to go with a team that you've girls in the US and probably, Europe, all around the world that you don't know, but you just got to make it work.
Absolutely. And like I said, we had 3 weeks, and then usually the team that you start your preseason with to the first game can be quite different. There's probably the last of a list of 11, probably the last 3 or 4 could be completely different. And then even during the season, I'd have a teammate I was playing with, and then the very next game I was playing against. They would come I had a teammate, she actually packed her bags. We were on the road. She's like, I actually might be traded here tomorrow. Might as well just take some clothes with me. Like, imagine that.
That's crazy.
In footy.
It's just, I love elements of that, but I also love what we have here. But it fascinates me, the whole American side of that cutthroat league. And I think there's good parts to it and there's also bad parts to it. I wouldn't want to see our game completely go down there too. But I also think, not that I want to be one of those old guys. I don't want to change the rules. I don't want to do any of that stuff. But I also think that in AFL, in the men's game, I know there's a long way to go in the women's game. But I think that those players are nearly treated too well. It's like you're doing your job, you're having a great time, you're getting paid really well. If you have to move, you have to move.
Imagine.
It is what it is. Like, do you agree with that or not? Like,
look, there's so many good arguments of how good would mid-season trades be.
I want that so bad.
But you think about it, if you had kids in school, family all set up, and you've been told you're traded to another state, it just might not be possible for them to go with you. So then,
but that's a reality, isn't it?
Potentially down the track. I just don't know if we're.
And I'm saying this from someone that we're probably not there yet, and maybe both sides' remuneration needs to be better.
Yeah.
But I think I had a little bit of a different career to you, where I was sort of like really hanging on, and I would take any opportunity.
Yeah.
Like if it took me to move somewhere, like I did it. Like I loved it, and I think. Sometimes we play these mid-season roles out we think about the top 10% of the AFL and you think, it's going to be hard for them to move. But it's like, well, there's other 90% that they'd be probably keen to do it.
Well, what about if there's a nomination to trade? You just put hey, I'm willing to go.
It's like LinkedIn, you're open to new work and just see what
Maybe.
happens. I like that.
And then what happens if you don't get traded? You're on the list.
Well, that's happened a lot. So I remember the funniest thing ever actually one day. It was when we were at Carlton, Bryce Gibbs wanted to go to Adelaide. Yep. I think everyone remembers this. And he put in the request. And the infamous group chat in any sports team, you got the WhatsApp group. And he left the group and it was in trade week. As you do, you sort of leave the group. And I remember the trade didn't go through. And as soon as it didn't go through, Ed Kerner added him back in and was like, mate, you're not going anywhere. And then like a week later, he was just there and you just laugh it off. You're like, it is what it is.
And you know what? That's what it's like over there in the States because it is just business and people move for certain reasons, for obviously minutes, for opportunities to win championships is a big one. It is such a different world over there. But the money is still different over there as well. You think about how much those guys are getting paid in the NBA. But even the WNBA, they're doing it. You can still get traded to any team, any time up until the trade deadline. So,
look, I don't know if people share my opinions, but I just think that playing elite sport is a blessing, and you should be extremely grateful for it. I think that if you do your job well, you can stay somewhere and get looked after forever. But it's not reality. There's people, there's bankers, there's accountants, there's police officers that relocate. Like, it's not.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Fuck yes. Anyway, I can't remember what's going on now. I've rattled myself. The living, playing overseas in the States, and then you're saying you're travelling Europe and stuff like that, like Israel, Poland and Slovakia.
Yep.
What was that like?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was, my first gig was in Israel. I played in a city outside of Tel Aviv called Ramat Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
And had a lot of Hebrew-speaking teammates. A lot of them still spoke English, but I loved living there. It was one of my favourite places to ever live. I loved getting to know new cultures and trying to attempt new languages, but that's a very, very hard one to learn. And then I think it was 5 years in Poland, and we had at the time, one of my years there, we had a Spanish coach, Jose Hernandez, and he was just always speaking in Spanish because whenever he gets out of control crazy, he can't think in English, he needs to talk in Spanish. So at one point we had him speaking Spanish, we had a Polish translator from Spanish to Polish, and then from Polish to English to, let me know what was happening. And then one time out, we were playing horrible. Jose's going crazy. He's saying every second word's F, no doubt, calling us all useless. And then Geordie Aragonis, who's our translator, I look at him and I said, what did he just say? I'm pretty sure he just told us we're all a bunch of whatever.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and goes, we need to play better. Yeah. I was like, bullshit, I know he didn't say that. No, he didn't say that.
That's what you need to know.
But we got at the end of it, he could speak in Spanish and we knew exactly what he was saying. He didn't even need to translate.
What a cool experience playing overseas, different languages, different people.
It was amazing, and it was one of the not first moments, but it was an important moment for when I realised how much sport can have such a huge impact on people. And we were playing in Krakow, and we had Wisla Krakow, was over 100-year-old club, and we have a soccer team as well. We have other sporting teams, massive on soccer. They love their soccer over there. And so we would have fans that would go from, watch our game, their game, and they would come to our game in the arena. They'd just jump up and down. They're chanting the entire game. They do not stop from start of the game to the end of the game. We beat a big Russian team over there, Spartak Moscow. We were the underdog, beat them. Straight after the game, they're letting off flares. The whole place is evacuated, smoke everywhere. They go out to the city, they run amok. They're just so passionate. And then one game, we lost to a Polish team that we should have beaten by 40 points, and we lost. Well, they never turned up to the next few games as shame, basically. We're not supporting you. If you ever lose to a team like that again, we're not coming to support you. So we had a massive section of our stand where they sit was just empty.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
So
maybe the fans aren't too bad over here.
We knew the importance of keeping our fans happy.
Yeah. I think one thing you mentioned then that's really cool is like that importance of sport. Like since I've left, I think when you're in it, I feel sometimes you look, you're the main character of your own story, right? And you think that everyone's, the fans, like, why don't you get it? Like, I am trying hard. But then you're a spectator and, interested in your opinion now, but obviously working with the AFL, being in the media, and the coolest thing, having families.
Yep.
You're on that outside now and you're looking in and you see that, father, daughter, son walking to the game together holding hands and you're like, this is their week. This is their relationships built on this.
Yep.
They're not angry at you. They're just so passionate about the game. And it's bloody incredible when you can see it from that point of view of how special sport is. It's almost like a church. I know I'm not religious personally, but a lot of people used to go to church and you have that community together and that you come together on the weekend. And that's what AFL is. That's what basketball is. It's just about coming together.
Yeah. People would literally look forward to this game, this day game, and focus on it all week, put it in their calendar. And so when you win, it's the have the best week of their life. And when you lose, it's the toughest week of their life. And you feel that, and you feel that responsibility. So
it's important. The other thing being with that I love about US sport and international sport, when especially when Australians go over, we're very good at jumping on our Australian athletes. But you look at someone like Dellavedova, who's in the NBA and has sort of been known for bringing that Australian sort of tenacity in basketball. Was that similar to what you experienced over there? Like what Australians are known for when coming to elite sport? Like was there perceptions of what sort of player you'd be? And also like your teammates, what did they sort of know about that? And another question of that is like how competitive was it when you're out there fighting against like the Americans to get?
So because I was also an Opal, there was this expectation that wherever you went, you represented the Opals, and you were fierce. You carried yourself. Your work ethic was as high as anybody's. And so when I went over there, a lot of people compared me to Michelle Timms, who had a great career in the WNBA, and she was feisty and ferocious and a great defender and a real highly competitive person. And that's how I felt I wanted to be, and that's who I was naturally, very highly competitive. But also I wanted to make sure that I was representing Australians well, so that I wasn't just the only, the last Australian drafted, that they make sure that they keep coming back to the WNBA and having a look at the Australians here to see the potential that we have here in the country. So there was a massive responsibility, which I loved, because that's just come with the title of being an Opal. And I loved competing against players for your spot. I mean, it's tough, and it can be pretty lonely because you are going up against, players that the next week you might be rooming with, and then you're going on the court and trying to, beat each other up. But that was just part of the becoming a professional. That's just what it required, and that's what it took. And then there were other times when I'd be on the court and I was playing against Opals, making sure that I was going just as hard at them and they were going just as hard at me, and we were competing. And we got a lot of respect. There was a lot of respect from the WNBA for Australians because of, all the players that have played there and the attitude and the work ethic that we bring.
Well, the work ethic and stuff that you're mentioning there, like how could you compare that to sport in Australia at the moment? Do you think that it is comparable, or the edge of your seat type thing to stay on lists and stuff? I know it's a different sport in WNBA, NBA and AFL and AFLW, but do you think it's comparable of the two? Is it relative?
Look, I think back, I grew up with incredible players and incredible coaches that had said, even parents, you have to do extra than what is required if you want to be great. And I was always finding ways to do extra sessions, extra workouts. I wasn't a very big party person. I missed a lot of opportunities to go out with my school friends because I'd rather get up the next morning and go for a run or get shots up or work out. And that was just my mentality. I feel like maybe today, and maybe it's, call it whatever you want, maybe it's technology or distractions, but it's rare that you see kids now just in the streets doing extras, doing, going out for a run, than what you used to see back in, when I was playing. And because there were kids just trying to be better out in the streets, having a kick, shooting hoops. So I don't know. Sometimes I see potentially it's just players just doing just what's required, just what they need to do to make sure that they get a game, instead of what can they do to just be the absolute best. What can they give up, sacrifice, do extra? Who can they use as a resource? Like, who can they reach out to? I think that may be some stuff that we're missing in this generation.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think, we always reflect personally on this. Like, as a young kid, I just had no idea how hard you had to work, or how hard. And it's hard when you don't know. You have to learn, and you
Well,
have to learn quick.
that's why I had great mentors around me.
Yeah.
So I had people showing me how to do it.
Was your old man probably the biggest mentor of yours, do you think? Or did you have other...
Well, Dad was a footballer. He could never show me how to shoot a basketball hoop because he was a terrible shooter. But I had even at club level, I just had so many hardworking guards that I'd watch and respect and learn and ask questions and want to learn. I was always, and probably still am in many ways, just always want to know people's story of how they got to there and what they did, and I have a lot of respect for that. So, I was just really lucky that I had incredible players that I was playing against, and then also that were helping me get to where I needed to go.
I feel like when you say that, like, it means one thing I'd probably learn a little bit, and one thing I'd love to pass down to my kids is just surrounding yourself with like the best people. It's like, I think maybe I used to probably hang around with, not purposely and still talented people, but you'd hang around with people to try and maybe be the best in that group or the best there, but thinking, fuck, I should have just been the worst in my group, and that would have made me so much better, because I'm actually with the guys that like are actually working the hardest. Like, surround yourself with the people that are going to be the best and take you there is probably what. Yeah.
And learn from your mistakes and their mistakes, and you don't have to just think, oh, because she's the best, I'll learn from her. Like, you can gain so many lessons from people that didn't quite make it.
Definitely.
And
that's where I learned most of my stuff, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really cool. One thing I've, because I don't think I did that personally when I was playing, and not, again, because I was like, oh, I'm just not going to fucking do it. I just didn't know how to do it.
Yep.
But since moving into the next phase of life, it's just been like surrounding myself with the best people in work and business, and like trying to find, I'm not good at editing, I'm not good at accounting, I'm not good at all those things, but like finding the best people like that. And we always use this analogy that I always talk to kids about, when if anyone ever asked my advice, there's been about 3. 2 I've just told them, one's asked because he felt bad, I think. But I just say, don't be that person that goes in the supermarket and just scrolls the aisles and looks for things. Yep. There's people there that know where shit is. If you want to get the tomato sauce, they'll tell you what aisle, how far down on the left, and you can get there straight away. Yep. So I think about that a lot when I'm at the supermarket. It's like, I just go up to people straight. I'm like, where is this? Yep. They're going to take me there. It's a lot easier than me just fucking wasting like 10 years in there trying to do it all myself.
And then there's people that work at the supermarket going, there's that guy again.
Yeah, there he is again.
Surely he knows where the tomato sauce is by now.
He's really driven. He's very driven. He's not just dawdling around wasting his life. So
fair enough.
You can use that analogy if you like.
I shop online, so it's quicker. Fuck. I don't need to go to an aisle. Remember? We're talking about efficiency.
No, but I'm getting the reps in.
100%.
So I'm walking.
Yeah, true.
And getting fitness.
I'm being lazy.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Towards the end of your career in the States, learning about AFLW, do you remember the first sort of time that happened? And obviously you started having a family in the US.
Yep.
So one, elite sport, starting a family, thinking about moving home, new game. It's a pretty lot of sort of things happening in that period.
Yes. Well, I was very lucky and still am. My wife was a professional basketball player too. So she played overseas in Greece, Turkey, Ireland, Australia, America. And so I had a very good support system set up. And she knew what it took to be a pro and all the things that I needed to do and make sure that I was preparing and playing as best as I can. And we were going down the IVF route, and that took about 2 years before we welcomed the twins. And whilst we were pregnant, and I was 2 years almost, before I retired 2 years earlier, Port Adelaide had contacted me about getting a license to play in the AFLW, and I was there signing, even though there was nothing to sign back then, but just a commitment that if they got a license that I'd be a marquee signing for them. And being a Port girl, I knew that Crows were also lobbying for a license, but didn't think anything of it. And I genuinely thought Port have a really good opportunity to get a license. And anyway, long story short, this was the end of 2015. They didn't get the license, and then in June of the following year, 2016, it was a Olympic year for me in Rio, and I thought my football dream was done. I was like, yeah, well, I'm a Port girl. A, I can't play for Crows. B, Crows wouldn't want a Port girl, so that was done and dusted. Anyway, so I was in the United States at the time. Leith Forrest, who was a media producer back in for a radio station back in Adelaide, contacted me through Facebook and said, would you consider playing for the Crows now that Port don't have a license?
I love this on Facebook, by the way.
I don't have Facebook anymore, but I'm grateful for Facebook. And I said, yeah, of course. I mean, I'd take a call from him. I'd definitely be interested in talking to him. I've never been the person that have gone, nah, I'm not talking to you because you play for that team or because you talk to that person. I'm not like that. So I said, yeah, I'll talk to him. That's, I'm not sure what's going to come out of it, but definitely interested. So Phil Harper, who was head of women's football in the AFLW, called me. I was in a hotel room in Phoenix, and I took the call, and I was like, I can't believe. In my head, I'm like, I'm talking to the Crows. Yes, like I'm a Port girl talking to the enemy. Like, is this phone bugged? Like, who's listening? And he just basically asked, would you be open to coming to play for the Crows? No, you're a Port girl. Phil was so wonderful, so professional, that when I hung up from him, I had no reason not to play for the Crows. And I almost had my mind completely made up just after that phone conversation. We had a Olympic campaign I needed to focus on, so I said to him, look, yes, but let's talk after the Olympics. And then when Rio went to shit, I was quite happy to pick up the conversation where it left. And yeah, I signed for the Crows, which I remember sitting in Football Park in West Lakes. Remember the old footy park?
Yep.
Sitting in windy West Lakes in the stands, showdown, and I would just hate the Crows. Like, I would just despise them. And if they'd win a showdown, I was so mad. So mad. Anyway, I've got I'm now playing for the Crows. And so you can imagine like what I'm thinking, is this actually happening? And I was so excited. Like I was like, I'm going back to Adelaide. I've been overseas doing the basketball route, just back and forth on the circuit, and I get to go home to Adelaide to play football. Like, it was just unbelievable. And I was so, so grateful for that phone call and for the fact that, because I don't think had Leith made contact, I actually don't think he would have picked up the phone and called me, because I think we both assumed that we didn't have a want or a need to play to play for each other. So here we are.
Do you think that hindsight's a wonderful thing, but surely another club from Melbourne or something would have reached out?
No. Well, I was overseas for 10 years, so nobody
sort of knew that you had the interest of actually doing it.
And I was this, I was 31 at the time, so coming towards the end of my sporting career in a sense, and people probably just thought that, I didn't even know if I could really still play. My wife thought, she's like, surely you can't play. You haven't played for 17 years.
Good faith.
100%. And you know what? I actually second-guessed myself too, because my answer was, I think I can. And that was as confident as I was.
What you got to do is think you can, and I think you prove yourself pretty right in that sense. Stupid question. And when you told your old man about the Crows situation, I assume he was just incredibly pleased that you're playing footy, but was there was always that funniness around Crows and Port, I know. What was he like in that situation?
My dad, it was a funny phone call, because I remember calling him and just said, hey mate, what do you reckon? The Crows have contacted me. What do you think? And I thought, usually Dad does two things. He'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, he'll fly off no, you can't do that. Or he'll make some type of joke. Like, there's these two, like, go-tos. And he went completely opposite. He said to me, fantastic. You get to play football back in Adelaide. Can't wait. Like, great opportunity. So supportive. And then fast track down to the week leading into round one. Phil Harper comes to my parents' house, knocks on the door with his big Crows polo for Greg Phillips to wear for round one, drops it off. And then I said to Dad, well, are you going to wear your polo? He goes, no, I can't wear a Crows club. I said, you know what? I said, Dad, fair enough. That's okay. You're here. You're supporting me. Anyway, round one finishes, and he gets home, and he was dirty on himself. He goes, I should have worn my polo. Why would? And he's never not worn a polo to one of my Crows games. He every game wore a Crows top. He's like, why would I not wear a Crows top? It took him one game to realise, what am I doing? This is my daughter. This is my kid. This is her team. It doesn't matter what I did past.
It's beautiful.
So had him in the tricolours. Greg Phillips in the tricolours.
Isn't it great with like dads just loving a bit of team polos? Like why do they love polos so much?
I got him a polo. I got him a polo from every basketball team. He's got that many polos. He'll just randomly walk out in a Wisla Krakow Polish one or a Dallas Wings one. I'm like, wow, what a collection you do.
It's just like, I can't imagine me wearing those polos, but I don't know, maybe it's just something that just flicks in you when your kids play for a team. You just want to rep
it. He loves a polo.
Yeah.
And then every year he got a fresh one.
That's beautiful. No, that's actually really, really incredible moment. I can imagine how special that would be for him.
Yeah, it was good.
Can I ask, my wife and I went through some fertility IVF for a couple of years too, and I know how hard that can be on both parties, let alone when you're trying to play elite sport and do all these things, and it's just crazy. It's something I always like to bring attention to, because since I've sort of spoken about it, I'm sure same as you, like people just come from everywhere and like never knew that happens.
Yep.
But we had Chloe Dalton on the podcast last week, actually. She's a founder of Female Athlete Project. Really cool, like unbelievable discussion, and a lot of things sort of brought to my attention. Not really brought to my attention, but just things that obviously when you don't when you're not in that mindset, you're not thinking about. And one of the really mind-blowing, one of the really maybe hard things that I'd never thought about is that, and seeing my wife go through this now is like when you do have children and start a family, the decision of doing that when playing elite sport and also having to give up's the wrong word, but sacrifice, I suppose, for the greater good of the family situations and just those whole things you sort of have to do. She's still going through that at the moment, like, and the respect you have for your partner for doing those things like that, those conversations are just great. Like it's something that not a lot of in men's sport you have to worry about, but in female sport, it's obviously a reality that is there. Yeah.
Well, so my wife Tracy, she wanted to be the carrier in our family, but even if I wanted to, I actually financially couldn't, because I was playing year round, and if I was to stop a WNBA season, it would affect my European salary, and if I stopped, it was not financially viable for me to stop playing basketball. So ultimately she carried, but regardless, even when you're not the one carrying, and you definitely could vouch for this, you ride the emotional roller coaster that is fertility and the unknown, the emotional burden, the psychological burden, the financial unknown, what you're signing up for without knowing if you're even going to become a parent. It's an incredible gamble. And we, if anything, it brought us really closer together, because we had no one else to really share the journey with. We were quite private with what we were going through because we didn't want to share it with people, and then if we had disappointments, we didn't want people, I know it sounds weird, but feeling sorry for us.
I was the exact same.
You know?
I was, completely the exact same.
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
So we were kind of just navigating it on the fly. We had one same-sex couple who we could talk to about it. But ultimately, we were just kind of learning as we were going on. And I'm writing a book at the moment, and a massive part of this book has a lot to do around IVF and a lot of information because, gosh, had I known back then the potentials, what to face, how hard it can be with all those things I just talked about, emotionally, physically, financially, we would have been a little bit better prepared. Like, you can't fully prepare going through this journey because it's just such a unknown. But what I wanted to write about was so that people could just know that it happens to so many people. It's a hard route to do. Some find it easier than others. Some find it incredibly disappointing and never fully reap the rewards of going through it. And so we wanted to share our story to make sure that people could just hear another side to it, or just know what you might get yourself into. Because I would say Tracy and I were kind of just, we were young, she was young, fit, healthy. There was probably no reason of why it should have taken 2 years for us to have kids. But we didn't know of all the hurdles that we could be challenged with along the way. So that's something that we're super proud of, and hopefully it can help a lot of couples out there.
Oh, I'm sure it will. It's I'll definitely be an advocate for reading that book. It's the more sort of you can know about the whole, just everything. Like the amount I learned about the female reproductive and anatomy was just like, I was sort of like asking Jazz, okay, how's your AMA going? How's your, we're here, okay, it's this side this month, it's this, and you're just like, it's almost like you're working a full-time job whilst trying to support each other. But one thing I really love what you said about coming together. I'm not saying that people that conceive naturally aren't coming together, they definitely are, but it's like any adversity you face, like the love and respect that you have for each other when you face something, you go through something like that. It's pretty incredible.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
How just, not the word is not unhelpful, but how much did you feel like you just couldn't do anything? It was just out of your control.
It's the worst feeling.
You couldn't do anything.
So there's this quote that, again, crazy, get like emotional talking about it, but it's like, humans would rather the certainty of misery than the misery of uncertainty. And I feel like when you're going through something like that, I almost wanted them to just say to me, like, you're not going to have a kid.
Yep.
Because then at least I'd just be able to like go, okay, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
But that misery of like just not knowing, it's fucked. It's crazy.
Yep. And there's nothing you can do to prepare for it.
Nothing.
You feel helpless. There's nothing you can feel like you can say to your partner to make it better. And probably like me, you've always been, if there's an issue, I'll try to fix it.
Everything, I'm a massive fixer. And I just had to learn that there's some things you can't fix. And a really cool thing, actually, Emma Murray, who has been on the podcast a lot, but she helped me a lot through that time. And she sort of tells stories about herself, but in turn, she's actually telling you a story about what you need to hear.
Yeah.
And I remember she told me this story about her, someone in her family where she's like, something was going on for them and she just try and fix it. And she actually realised that she goes, by doing that, not only are you like probably annoying them, but two, you're not letting them grow from the experience. And like, yeah, it's just hard because like you see your partner go through it and then you want to help, but also you know that they're growing. So it's hard.
There's nothing.
It's tough.
No.
So hard. But anyone out there that is going through it, it's just, you because it's the worst saying. My mate's dad used to say this to us when he would say something. He's like, "He's got to stick fat, stick fat, support each other."
Yeah,
and I remember actually recently when at Live, fuck, I was on a band. I met Chloe Fisher.
Yep.
Who Fisher's wife, and I'm not sure if you know their story, but they've been really public with their thing. And I saw her, and I just went up to her and I was like, "Oh, you don't understand. Like, before I heard you guys going through this, I didn't know that anyone else was going through this, and like I was really like didn't want to talk about it ever. And my missus, like, she was better at talking to her friends about it, and I didn't want to tell anyone. So there was that whole thing of like, I'd rather keep it a secret. I don't want people to feel bad for us, sort of thing. And she was like, well, I need support. So we had to sort of work that out. But I went up to Chloe and I was like, fuck, like, if this can happen to the biggest DJ in the world and you look at this life where you travel the world, fuck, like it can happen to anyone.
Yep. And there's like, you know, we're two females, but I can only imagine with a heterosexual couple going through it, was there any element of you thinking it was just you, or you'd be perceived, oh, something's wrong with me, or your mates would be like, oh, it's you're not doing something right?
There's always like, it just day by day changes, and then like you feel like a resentment to yourself, you feel resentment to the world. And like my best mate fell pregnant, you know, when we were trying. My sister had 2 kids in that time and stuff, and he just like, oh, you know, I don't want your kid, but I want my own sort of thing. So it was hard. Yeah. But it's just one of those crazy things. People don't know what to say. There's nothing really to say, but you know, like a lot of things, you just it's super challenging. But it's as challenging as it was, I would never change it now. Yeah. Like, geez, I tell you what, there's some rough nights when you've got kids, and it's a lot easier when you walk into the room knowing how grateful you are to have them.
100%.
And you're just like, fuck.
100%.
Shut up, man. But like, also, it's all good.
Little miracles.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really cool. But no, I appreciate you you chatting about that, and I love.
Likewise.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
It's very special. So, come back to Adelaide, playing with the Crows. 3 flags.
3 flags.
It's not bad.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's
unbelievable.
Not 4. Like, it's not 4 flags.
What?
But 3's okay.
It's not 5 either.
Yeah.
We could keep going. No, we you know what's funny? Like the first year, Phil Harper said to me, you know, it'd be great if we could just win 1 game. You know, that was kind of the perception of the expectation of the Crows of just win a game. You know, it'd be great. And I looked at Phil and I thought, bugger that. Let's win the whole thing. And he was super positive, but I don't know if in the back of him, I'm sure in the back of his mind, he was like, nah, we'll probably just hopefully win the 1 game. So it pleasantly surprised probably a lot of people how we went. And what I love about that first team is that we came together so fast. We were so close. And I've before that only ever had to deal with 12 athletes in a basketball team to try to gel and mesh together. And it's not many players, but you have a list of, 28 back then, or it's 30 now. But it's just it's a lot of personalities to get right. It's challenging. It can be really challenging. And it was just the most synchronized team, one of the most synchronized team that I've ever been a part of.
What do you put that down to?
We just all wanted to play our role.
Yeah.
We wanted to work hard. We loved spending time with each other. We wanted to get better. And we loved footy. And we just wanted to come together and play footy. And we did. Trainings were fun, competitive. Games were obviously competitive. And, it was such a blur. Like, my twins were 3 months old when, maybe 4 months old when AFLW started. I tried to sleep one night away from them. So I tried to sleep the night. We actually, funny story, we went into a rental at a family member's house, Tracy and I and the twins. for a week. I thought, well, we can live there and then we'll be fine. I'd come home from night trainings. Tracy hasn't eaten dinner. There was no bathtub in this place. The babies weren't showered. It was 9 o'clock at night. The house was just a mess. Anyway, we were there for maybe 10 days. And then we walked to my parents' house and we knocked on the door. They were 10 minutes down the road and said, can we please live here? We need help. And so we moved in with my parents because we were drowning.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't sleeping. If we got 2 hours of sleep in a row, that was a win. They were never synchronized, our kids. They were just on their own schedules.
Having twins.
And I tried for one night before a game to sleep in the spare room away from Tracy and the babies. And Tracy's like, please just go and get a good night's sleep before you go play. And I said, okay, I will. And so I went to the spare room and I could not sleep. I could not sleep. I could not let her just tough it out through the night, or getting up every, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours if she's lucky, to try to feed the kids. And I was like, no, I can't. So I went back in there, and for the whole entire AFLW season, even the night before the grand final, which my daughter was up at 3 a.m. having a party, I was like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're preparing, and we're just going to have to find a gear. And it was looking back, as hard as it was physically. The kids came on all the road trips. The twins came on all the trips away. Tracy came. I had them. My kids were growing up with an incredible bunch of girls and women that were showing them AFLW football. It was the best upbringing for my kids I could ask for.
So cool. Probably takes you, like we spoke about earlier, sometimes you don't need the biggest prep. You don't need a big preseason. You just got to get it done.
Yep. I actually felt like, even right up until my last game, when I was going on the field, there was nothing I needed to worry about, because either the kids were in the creche or they were with Tracy, my parents, everyone was all good. And it was like this relief of, okay, I get to not unwind, because footy's not about to unwind, but I didn't have to think about anything else other than football in that next 2 hours. And that was like my outlet of life. And so it was almost less pressure being on a football field for me. And yeah, it was just, because I look back and go, Jesus, how did we ever survive? We haven't slept, what it's like with kids. But yeah, football just became like my peaceful time.
Oh, my wife would be listening to this. So there's definitely, I can't lie, because she will call me out on it, but there's definitely something to do with women that are a lot better at that. And I'm not saying I was there, and but there was nights where she reckoned she would be like punching me in the face, and I was that tight. Like, I just could not wake up. And I don't remember it. Like, I was just out, out. I'm scared that she didn't think I was she didn't call an ambulance for me or anything. She's just like, nah, just leave you.
Just leave you.
Yeah.
That's a bit harsh.
I remember the first 4 days, because she had a cesarean, so she couldn't get out of the bed. Yeah. And the first 4 days in hospital were really hard, because I was, probably doing what she did for the next year. But every night I was getting up at every 30 minutes. And I just remember times being I don't actually remember what happened.
No. I
don't remember it. I remember that we're here, everyone's there, but I don't remember.
Where's your brain removes trauma, ready?
It was gone. Yeah, I just remember just not sure what happened, but it's bloody tough. In saying that, and I don't think there's one thing to know here, but I'd love your opinion on, if there was one thing you'd love people to know about women's sport, or AFLW in particular, of whether that's family, the work-life balance of a lot of the women have to do full hour days, and then come and train. What would be the one thing you'd like people to know about that?
I don't know if they don't know about it, but it's bloody hard to be an athlete and a parent. And I got the easy role, right? Because I didn't have to go through the 9 months of carrying.
It's still very hard. Yeah. Still very hard. Let's give.
But I didn't.
Still very hard.
No, it is.
As you said earlier, we're on it together.
But I reckon we got the easy end of it.
Oh,
easier.
Yeah, sort of.
Easier.
Well,
You're digging yourself a hole here.
definitely.
And I just, like, I look at, I've got teammates now, past teammates they're pregnant, they're missing a season, and unknown whether they'll be able to now get back onto a list or, whether they'll physically be able to get back, and because it's bloody tough. And then to juggle that work-life balance, so many parents to be able to have careers, typically then have to either one of the partners have to be at home with the kid, or the kids go into daycare, which is so expensive, and
and you just get sick.
They get sick.
Sick all the time.
Yeah. So it's such a hard act to juggle and balance. And even now, Tracy and I don't have the perfect balance, and we try, and life happens, and then you're trying to make sure that you're trying to figure it all out. But it's this forever moving piece of trying to get this right formula, which I don't actually think it exists, to be honest.
No, it's not. I think the pursuit of it is probably the only part that exists. Like, I was literally chatting to a mate this morning about it. I was like, how do you be a good parent, work, have time for your partner, have time for yourself? I'm like, fuck it, I just don't know how that actually happens.
No, you almost have to have a schedule.
Well, yeah, my calendar's like Bible.
Yep.
But I've just realised now, I was saying to Jazz last night, I was like, I'm going to have to start getting up at like 5 o'clock if I want to do it. She goes, well, yeah. I was like, okay. Well, that's probably what's going to have to start happening then, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's where it is. 2 parts. What do you think, how far away is full-time for AFLW? And second part that is not really connected to that part is, can sport in general do anything better for women that want to start families in sport? Like, do you think that there's, AFLW is what we're talking about, so I suppose specifically there, like, is there support in place for that to happen, do you think?
Well, we'll start off with that question. Yeah. So it's interesting. So over in the WNBA now, a lot of my, I believe a lot of my friends, when a few years ago, when the WNBA introduced supporting the freezing of eggs, and they were not paying the girls to get their eggs frozen, but supporting medically if they wanted to go down that route, so that a lot of these athletes would get to the end of their careers, were finding they were having really long, successful careers, and then when it came time to starting a family, it was almost impossible. And a lot of my friends couldn't and haven't, because it was just a little bit too late. So I know there's support where they're freezing eggs at the moment, so that they can, down the track after they've finished their career playing professionally, that they haven't lost at least an opportunity, right, to
it's really cool.
to start a family
WNBA.
In the WNBA. Yeah. Obviously, in the AFLW, we haven't got that yet. But for example, if you're on a list and you do become pregnant, like, you still get your full salary supported, and I think you become on the inactive list. But I love that piece in the WNBA, especially because I've seen so many of my friends miss the opportunity to now start thinking about fertility at a younger age. Because even I look back and I think I would not have even thought about it back then. It would have been so far from my mind. But it's a smart thing to do. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. I'm not advocating for everyone to go get their eggs and semen done, but like, I've even had mates that, since sort of telling them about our story, they're like, oh, we might try, and then they've encountered some things that they go, fuck, well, if we didn't get onto this earlier, who knows what would have happened. So
even if you have like a 1%, oh shit, will I ever have kids? Just consider it.
Consider it's probably the better one. Yeah, consider it for sure. Well, that'd be really cool if that was an option for our girls. Yeah,
and for me, when I had kids and I was in the AFLW and I was part of 2 teams, I felt incredibly supported. Yeah. If if I was at training and, I had a really rough night, maybe my training might have been a little bit lighter, or, if I needed to get home earlier to help with the bath time, no one ever blinked an eye. It was always, love and support, make sure your family was always taken care of. So, and whenever I was at the club, everyone was welcome. If they ever wanted to, the twins wanted to come, or the kids, they just all welcome to be there. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was something that even when I was in the WNBA, you didn't really see kids around the team. I should say not many of my teammates at the time had kids, but in AFLW, and now you see it in the AFL program, how many kids are just...
Well, that's the beauty of our game, I think.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about the benefits of both. It's like when you are governed by one body and there is salary caps and equalisation, all those bits, like that's where you probably get that part of it.
Yep, absolutely.
And the second part was...
full professional.
Full professional.
So,
like you said earlier, sorry to interrupt, but about like basketball and how important that was for you to play at your best. Do you think that that's nearly there?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're seeing a really nice trajectory in, the game itself. Another pay rise in the last CBA. This league is just growing and growing and growing. We know we've got to hit some targets with audience, both coming to crowds coming to games and also watching them on TV to trigger more games in the future. But look, it's a great brand, and I'm hoping that people, if they say, I want to support the AFLW, go to a game, take your kids to a game. Kids under 15 are free, maybe under 16 are free. Adults are $10. Like, it's an awesome time out for the kids. So many activations, and that's how we grow more games. And then obviously it's the work that needs to be done by the athletes to keep getting better.
You see, like with the NAB League and stuff coming through, like some of the players and
little
the
guns.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and that obviously shows with the right grassroots program that the AFL have set up, which should be commended because it's pretty cool what they've been able to do, especially with some of these young draft picks coming in, having immediate impacts. Pretty cool. Yep.
It's still, for me, every time I go past a park or a football oval and to see young girls out there kicking the footy, it's unbelievable. And then, like I said, the talent that's coming through. I coach my daughter's under 8s team at Smosh West Lakes, and there are some kids out there you just know, like, that's just their passion. They're just such football heads. That's all they want to do. And I'm just so grateful that they can just keep going on down that pathway if that's what they choose.
I'm really excited, obviously now, but what's going to be really cool is 18 years in, there'll be a girl that's been 18 years old that's been born since it's been there. Yep. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
She's born already with AFLW established.
So it's there established. And like to see that sort of whole program come through where she's not getting to 13 years of age, and I know that the 13-year-olds are actually probably in the AFLW now, according to my maths. But to have it from never even of being a thing to think about, that'd be pretty cool to see.
No. You know what was really cool? I was doing school pickup, which can be the hardest part of my day, finding a car park, fighting the parents to get prime position.
Yeah. How do you go at the school? It's a bit aggressive? You're like at stoppages.
You know what I just don't understand? We're at a school...
Dickheads. I struggle with them.
But I really struggle with inconsiderate parents.
Yeah.
So the ones that park between two parks, and you just think, if you just moved up a little bit, I could park there. But you've chosen not to. And you know what happens? I get out my car, knock on their window, and I ask them, can you please move up? I stop my car.
I love that.
Because I can't accept that.
Yeah.
And
hey, you walk past the extended... I'm not very good at quotes.
No, I'm not walking past that standard not acknowledging that you need to do better. And they know that they are not parking in the right spot.
It's frustrating. One thing I'm really nervous for is sports teams, and I know there's so much good about sport, but there's also, even from being a junior coming through, you know what it's like. There's always just that one parent that you're in the huddle and then they take their kid out and talk to you. You're just like, man, just fucking leave them alone. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
Yes.
Is that a thing?
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And I had a parent come up to me and offer me some advice, and I politely just said, how about you do your job and I'll do mine? And it's under 8s.
I'm nervous. Yeah, okay, so you're going well. 8s. Yeah, okay. That's good. Well, I'm nervous for that. I think my wife is too. She's not looking forward to that stuff. Footy, as we said, 3 flags. Unfortunately, you could have had, 4 or 5 would have been nice.
Yeah, it would have been.
3's fantastic. It's been an incredible career in, multi-codes. In all seriousness, congratulations. It's been very, very cool. But nearly the biggest part of your life is upon us now.
Yes. Is it?
The Carlton Draught.
Yes. Oh.
How are you feeling?
I'm excited.
Are you keeping, what's your main sort of activity at the moment? Are you footying, b-balling, or just sort of training?
I have not picked up an AFLW football, any football besides an under 8 rubber ball since November 4th last year.
Okay.
So it's dawned upon me that we're probably going to have to start training, just so that, in the footy skill world, like I still run occasionally, I do Pilates, take the dogs for walks, active with the kids, but no time trials, No,
I'm not doing one of those. No. That wasn't a part of it.
No preseason.
No, that wasn't a part of it. Are you pumped to give it a crack, though?
I'm so pumped.
So
I am.
At the moment, obviously I've been drafted. I'm going to tourer.
I saw. You're in Port Power colours.
Robbie Gray. They've been calling me young Robbie Gray. Yeah, so...
Jeez.
Well, I've been calling myself that, and I'm hoping other people
No pressure.
Will.
No pressure.
But yeah, I'm bloody excited for it. I think it's going to be super exciting. I think it's one of the coolest initiatives by Carlton Draught to we've spoken about it a couple of times today about how important sport is, and then tenfold how important it is at a local community level, and especially rural as well. When it's these towns, obviously, all the teams that we're all going to be going to have been not performing to the level that they'd hope at the moment.
I'm just so excited. One of the reasons why I wanted to coach my daughter's team was to get back to a footy club. So
you can deal with some parents.
Not that part. Kind of forgot about that part, but I feel like after I dealt with this guy, no parent's going to come up to me again. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted.
I'm excited for that.
But I'm so pumped. I love football clubs. I'm excited I get to play. I'm excited that the Carlton Draught have given now a female this opportunity, to be an inaugural wild card, is so, so cool. And I remember when I first got asked, I think I said yes before the question was even finished being asked to me. But yeah, I can't wait. I thought I'd come back and play, whether it be social footy or something, club footy or maybe social basketball. I knew that I'd actually maybe come back and do something. I didn't know it was going to be this soon, but
yeah,
I'm
a bit pissed off, to be completely honest, because you're sort of still very sort of fresh out of the game, and
I've got dodgy knees. I've got really
dodgy talent, sort of. So it's a little bit like.
What team did you say you were with?
Tourer Magpies. Pick 4 actually. Pick above Lee Montagna.
Ooh, so how did that go down?
Well, same amount of premierships, me and Lee.
Yep.
He's got a couple of preseason premierships, but so it's pretty basically the same thing. But no, I genuinely am looking forward to it. I haven't played since my last year was 2019.
Yep.
Played a game. I didn't play any AFL that year. Played all in the knee full.
Yep.
Barely touched it. So you could nearly say my last year was 2018.
Okay.
And
how's your training going?
It's going. It's starting tonight.
So it hasn't been going then.
Well, family.
It's just good.
No, I'm saying as before. How I said before about the balance.
Oh yeah.
Of just trying to be a really good dad at the moment and stuff.
So good of you.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm starting tonight, going to Old Ivanhoe, train at my old school team.
Awesome.
Really looking forward to that. As I mentioned, I actually have wanted to just be training. I've got this idea that people don't like, but it's called the 700s, where we get everyone down to training. That I was explaining to you earlier off mic about the training thing.
Yeah.
So that'll watch this space for that. But I'm really looking forward to the game. I've already been speaking to my club. They're messaging me. They're it's just so cool to think that they're actually excited that people are coming down.
I know.
So it's gonna be cool.
And the new mates that you'll make as well down there, it's going to be awesome.
And the thing with me is it's never going to be a one. They're going down there, and I'm already thinking I'm going to come down for the weekend.
Yeah.
I'm not. When you get me there, it's hard to sort of actually make me leave.
Are you going to train with them prior?
I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
If they're open to it, Darcy, you could come down with me. Yeah, good. Well, I'm keen.
You would, right?
Well,
Thursday night, first Saturday game, surely.
I think you'd have to go down for a captain's run. But then again, hearing your story.
Wait, do they do captain's run in that league?
Not sure. But then hearing your story of in the WNBA of just meeting your teammates before the game, I'm sort of well, maybe it is possible to still perform at that level.
Well, as long as you don't go and touch wood, blow a hammy up real early.
I'm okay with a hammy. I'm okay with a calf. I just don't want to do something else.
Okay.
That I don't even want to really talk about. But no, I'm really excited for it. So teams at the moment.
Yep.
To get you down there, obviously you can register. Because you haven't picked a team yet.
No, I think.
So teams can still register on the Carlton Draught.
Yes, get on and register. I could be coming to you guys, and I'm pumped. And I'm going to start training next week.
Guys,
I could have
She's not as nice as she seems. Okay, I think she said to that other dad at footy, once cross the white line.
Yes.
Don't meet your heroes. Is all I'm saying.
I reckon you'd be the same. You'd be like, I'll just go out there for a kick and be fun, and then the ball will be thrown up or bounced. I'm not sure what they do out there, and you'll be all over it.
It's a concern of mine that I'm not saying this in a sense because I'm not trying to be definitely not coming off as a tough guy or anything like that. But when you do get that, the competitiveness
definitely,
back, and it's hard. It's hard to cage that, but we'll see what happens.
Don't you cage that. You just unleash it when you're out there.
I will unleash that in my Toura Magpies Robbie Gray jumper.
Do you get to keep your jumper?
I hope so. Yeah, getting the number
awesome.
43 as well. I actually spoke to Toura because 43 was my number at the Giants, and they had a guy who was wearing the 43. From all reports, I don't know, but he was a bit bigger than I was. Oh. And he was actually in the 2s, and he's the old president of the club, and they've had to take the jumper off him. But I'm okay with that.
You're in a 2XL jumper?
No, they're getting me a new one. Yeah.
Damn it, that would have been great.
Pretty excited. Because they're like, do you want 7? I was like, mate, no, I want the 43. That's my number. It's my niche.
You want number 98?
No, 43.
As high as you
43
can go.
Is all I do. Hey, last but not least, the work you're doing with the AFL at the moment, how is that?
How is
cool.
it? Yeah, it is really cool.
Yeah. So with Joel and Laura Kane, what would you say is it just the issues that pop up or do you have an agenda of stuff throughout the year that you're going to go through? Yeah,
so we'll do different projects throughout the year, but for Joel and I, it's game analysis, player engagement, but we've been across sitting in meetings, football operations, a lot of all the different projects that I've been working on. And one of the things that we love and respect is from when Laura put this team together, she wanted to make sure that she didn't lose any perspective from club level, from making sure that the game still had, I suppose, players that had just finished for Joel and I to keep an eye over it to make sure that, nothing was missed from that space. And the part that I really love about it, and obviously it will get more and more as especially the AFLW season kicks off, is the player engagement and in being a part of all the clubs, having good relationships with the players, especially the captains and the leaders, and helping wherever we can help in any team. So, if a club wants to engage and with Joel and I to come and look through over their leadership program or some of the stuff that they're doing.
Consultants for the clubs and things that you can, anything.
Yeah, anything and everything. Cool. And then obviously I would keep an eye on watching games. Joel and I do Channel 7 as well together. So it's been great. We've learned a lot. From my perspective, there's so much that goes on. The AFL is such a huge industry. There is so much that comes across on your desk every single day, and I have such big admiration for Laura Kane and the amount of work that she has on a daily basis, and Andrew Dillon, and it's just, but I love that they have this big perspective and this 100% importance of what footy means to people, and making sure that they live up to their values of what is community, footy, love of the game. And that has been something that as soon as I walk through the doors of the AFL, that's always been spoken about. So it's really cool. I'm doing it from Adelaide, so I come to Melbourne a fair bit. It's a hop, skip and a jump away, as you know. You're always in Adelaide.
Yeah, you're up the front. I'm sort of down the back.
I'm not up the front. Not at the front.
It's very cool though with the AFL, and you know what? It was probably expressed to players and also to the public, but I find it could be done. It's very hard to get your message across of what you do. But after chatting to Andrew Dillon on the podcast and learning about just even the business of football and how, you know, it annoys me now when we talk about revenue splits and players getting X and that. It's like, well, it's very different to American sport. A lot of the money goes back into grassroots and getting, you know, boys and girls to play. So then they become in that system. They become supporters. They then buy memberships. They go to the footy. Then it just gets bigger and bigger, and more people can access the game itself. So I think when you actually, I think nearly the players of both need to understand that that's actually what it's about. Football is, yes, it's the biggest part, but it's just one part of what that is.
Well, people think, you know, when a MRO gives out fines, that it goes into this big pool of money, and AFL have a big Christmas party at the end of the year, but it actually, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it goes into brain research, concussion research, all that money that ever, if players get fined. So it's not for big parties. You know, so look, it's
I think
a big beast.
They're doing a good job. Not that they need me to say that, but I think they're trying very hard, and you guys are doing a good job. Laura Kane's an absolute weapon too. Known Laura for a long time. Actually played junior footy with her brother.
Really?
Daniel Kane.
Yeah, cool.
DK.
Yep.
So yeah, Laura, I've stayed in contact with her when she was at North, and then seeing what she's doing now is bloody cool. I know. So now you're all in good company and doing good stuff. Maybe
we need to ask her about time management, because she's
I can't imagine how she'd be.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I know that from experience asking like the executives on shows, and they're like, for me, it's like, when you want to do a podcast? I'm like, oh, next week. Then they're like, how about August 2026? And you're like, yeah, I reckon I'm free.
And they'll send you a calendar invite, not just say, text.
Sick. Yeah, that's cool. Which would freak me out, having a calendar like that far in advance.
Are you a paper diary kind of person?
No, I'm a phone, digital, unfortunately, but I'm very strict on it. Color-coded.
Oh.
Calendar invites, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Pretty cool. Hey, taking up so much of your time today. I apologise.
That's okay.
I've had really appreciate you coming in. Genuinely, incredible person. Congratulations on everything you've achieved. Very excited to see what is next in the business world and sport world, and everything else in the AFL, because everything you're touching is turning to gold. So thank you very much.
No, thanks, Dyl. And make sure you get on the Carlton Draught website.
Yeah.
I could be coming to you.
Oh my God, how exciting.
Let's go. Thanks, Dyl.
Also, you've got me, guys.
Carlton the Magpies.
Go the Tourists.